I've been driving for Uber for about 8 months now. Late night shifts pay better because of surge pricing, and I don't mind staying up. This was on a Thursday night, pretty slow, when I got a ping from an address I didn't recognize. That's not unusual. I get pings from addresses I don't recognize all the time. I should have known something was wrong when I pulled up the profile and felt that small, weird hesitation in my chest. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My name's Alex. I'm 25, I've got $34,000 in student loans for a degree I'm not using, and Uber was supposed to be temporary. 8 months later, temporary is still happening. I drive Thursday through Sunday, 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Surge pricing kicks in after 10, and on a good night I can clear $200. It's not glamorous. Most rides are drunk people going home from bars, college kids going to parties, the occasional person heading to an early airport run. You get a feel for it. You stop thinking about it. 842 rides before that Thursday. I'd had one bad experience in all that time. A guy who wouldn't stop talking about his ex-wife. And I'd started to feel like the fears people had about rideshare driving were overblown. I know. Thursday nights are usually slow until around 11 when the bars start clearing out. I'd done 4 rides, made about $60, and I was parked near downtown with my coffee going cold in the cup holder when the ping came in. 4.9-star passenger. That's near perfect. Most frequent riders have ratings in the 4.7, 4.8 range. A 4.9 means someone who's polite, doesn't make messes, maybe tips. I accepted without thinking twice. The name on the request, Marcus T. Pickup address, somewhere on the east side of the city, near the edge where the neighborhoods start thinning out. I didn't know the street name off the top of my head, but the GPS mapped it no problem. Estimated drive to pickup, 15 minutes. It was raining, not heavy, just the constant light drizzle that makes everything look like a smeared photograph. I pulled out of my parking spot and headed east. The drive to pickup was normal. I remember that specifically. Radio on low, wipers going, streets mostly empty. I passed a couple driving home, a lone cyclist in a rain jacket. The kind of quiet Thursday night where the city feels like it's exhaling. I got to the address at 11:47 p.m. It was an apartment complex, but complex is generous. 3 stories, brick that was probably brown in daylight but looked black in the rain. Parking lot with maybe a third of the spaces filled. The light over the entrance was out. 1 lit window on the 2nd floor, curtains closed. The building looked run down, but I'd picked up from worse places. I texted the standard "I'm outside" message and waited. He came out almost immediately, like he'd been watching for my headlights. Male, late 30s, maybe early 40s, dark jacket, one of those utilitarian ones with too many pockets. He'd been out in the rain long enough that his shoulders were wet and his hair was plastered down, but he walked without hurrying. Calm, deliberate. He got in the back seat, directly behind me. Most passengers sit behind the passenger seat or in the middle. Sitting directly behind the driver is the one position where you're in the driver's blind spot, where the driver can't see you without craning around. I'd read forum posts about this, drivers flagging it as a red flag. I remember thinking in that moment, some people just prefer that seat. "Thanks for coming," he said. His voice was flat, not rude, not friendly, just flat, like he was reading from a script and didn't care whether it sounded natural. "No problem," I said, and I checked the app. The profile photo for Marcus T showed a man with a similar build, similar coloring. but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was slightly off. Different jawline, maybe. The photo was a little grainy, a little distant. I told myself I was being paranoid. Profile photos are always bad. They're small thumbnails taken years ago. Half my passengers don't look like their photos. "Marcus?" I asked anyway. "Yeah, that's me." Short, cert. I pulled out of the parking lot. The destination on the app was a residential address about 25 minutes away. A neighborhood I knew. Quiet streets, houses with porches, the kind of area where families live. Normal destination for a Thursday night. I settled in, turned down the radio a little, and headed toward the main road. 5 minutes in, the app chimed. Destination updated. I glanced at the screen when I hit a red light. New address, different part of the city further out. The app was now estimating 35 minutes. "Hey," I said, keeping my voice easy, "the app just updated your destination." "That's right, had to change it." No explanation, no apology, just "that's right." "Okay," I said. "No problem." And I kept driving, because that's what you do. Passengers change destinations. It happens. Maybe he decided to go to a friend's place instead of home. Maybe he sobered up and remembered he left something somewhere. There are 100 reasons a destination changes. I told myself these things. My gut was screaming at me to pull over, to make an excuse. To end the ride right there on a lit street with other cars around. I didn't listen. I tried making small talk. I do this with most passengers. A few light questions, gauge whether they want to chat or decompress in silence, adjust accordingly. Some people want the whole experience. Some people put their headphones in before the door closes. He answered in 2 or 3 words every time. "Yeah, no, sure." What I remember most is what I saw in the rearview mirror. Most passengers are looking at their phones. That ambient glow, the scrolling, the occasional text notification. It's almost universal. Even when people are talking to me, they're half on their phones. He wasn't looking at his phone. He was looking at the back of my head. Every time I glanced up at the mirror, checking traffic, checking blind spots, his eyes were already there, not moving, not in that nervous way people stare into space. He was watching me the way you watch something you've been tracking for a while. I started taking longer routes between mirror checks, keeping my eyes on the road, pretending I hadn't noticed. The silence got heavy. The rain tapped on the roof. The GPS gave its calm, automated directions, and I followed them, and the streets got darker as we moved away from downtown. Then I heard the locks, click, the door locks, all 4 of them engaging at once. I told myself it was the automatic system. My car does this sometimes, it locks when you hit a certain speed. I'd replaced the fuse twice and it still did it occasionally. Completely normal, probably coincidence. But my hands tightened on the wheel. "You live on Morrison Street, right?" My blood went cold. I don't know how to describe it better than that. Not a metaphor, a physical sensation, something dropping through my chest. I didn't answer right away. I couldn't. I was trying to figure out how I'd mentioned Morrison Street, if I'd said something, if there was something on my profile he could have seen. "What?" I said. "How do you?" "Apartment 2B, he said. "The one with the blue door." My hands were shaking. I gripped the wheel harder to hide it. My building has 14 apartments. My door is the only blue one. I repainted it the month I moved in because the old color was an ugly brown and I thought I was being cheerful. I had never told a passenger where I lived, ever. It's the first thing they say on the driver forums. Don't tell them your real neighborhood, don't give them your full name, keep your personal life separate. "That's not my address," I said. My voice came out steady. I don't know how. He didn't say anything. Just went back to watching me in the mirror. I checked the app. I don't know why I hadn't checked it since the pickup force of habit. You don't stare at your phone while driving, but I checked it now at a stoplight and I felt something shift. Marcus T. Total rides, 0. Account created today. A 4.9-star rating with 0 rides. Account made the same day as the ping. Looking back, I can't believe I didn't immediately pull over. I think part of my brain was still rationalizing, still building alternate explanations, still telling me that there was some mistake, some misunderstanding, some version of this that wasn't what it looked like. The version my gut was describing. I looked at my battery, 5%. It had been at 60 when I left downtown, an hour ago. I don't run many apps while driving, just the Uber software and GPS. 60% lasts me 3-4 hours easily. There was no reason it should be at 5%, unless something was draining it. I didn't say anything about the battery. I didn't say anything about the rating. I put my phone face down in the cup holder and breathed and watched the GPS count down the miles. The route kept changing. I noticed it first about 20 minutes into the drive. The GPS would calculate, then recalculate. Add 5 minutes, then another 8. The destination itself wasn't moving on the map, but the route kept shifting, pulling us further from the main roads, deeper into the city's industrial edges. The kind of streets where the businesses close at 5 and nobody walks at midnight. The estimated arrival was now 45 minutes. I was being routed to a remote industrial area. I think there's a problem with the app, I said, and I was proud of how level I sounded. I'm going to cancel this ride and we can restart it, make sure the GPS. Don't do that, he said. Just keep driving. Not aggressive, not raised voice, just flat and certain, the way you tell a dog to sit. I opened the app to cancel anyway. It was frozen, completely unresponsive. I tapped the screen, pressed harder, tried swiping. Nothing moved. And in the rearview mirror, I saw him lean forward slightly. Something was in his hand, low near his knee, held loose. In the bad light and the quick glimpse, I couldn't make out what it was, just an object, small enough to carry in a jacket pocket. I looked back at the road. I kept driving. I was thinking through scenarios. My phone was dying, the app was frozen, the doors were locked. There were no other cars on this stretch of road. If I stopped here, if I tried to run here, there was nowhere to go. Dark buildings, chain link fences, a construction site with no lights. I needed people. And then he started talking again. He mentioned my mother's name. I don't know how else to tell you that part. He just said her name casually, the way you'd mention someone you'd looked up online. Said she lived about 40 minutes from me. Said he hoped she was doing well. He mentioned my work schedule, that I always drove Thursday nights, that I almost always worked until 2 or 3 a.m. You're very predictable, he said. You always take the same route home. The worst part was realizing he was right. 8 months of the same shifts, the same streets, the same gas station I stopped at on the way home. I had never once thought about whether anyone was paying attention. Someone had been paying attention for weeks. That was when I knew, not suspected. Knew this was not a mistake. This was not a random bad passenger. This had been planned. He had found me through the app, maybe through the app itself, some exploit or vulnerability, and he had built a fake account, and he had requested a ride from an address that would require me to drive through quiet streets, and he had been watching me long enough to know where I lived, what my door looked like, what my mother's name was when I was alone. At the next stoplight, I let myself look directly in the mirror. He was holding the object up slightly like he knew I'd look. Zip ties. A small bundle of them, black plastic. and next to them, half covered by his palm, a knife. Nothing dramatic, not a movie weapon, small, practical, the kind of thing you'd use for tasks. The light was red. To my right, a gas station, lit up like a lighthouse. 2 cars at the pumps, a person inside behind the counter. Something was very wrong, and I just knew I had to get out. I thought about running the red light. The intersection had cameras. I knew this street, and if I accelerated hard, I might make it through before he could react, before he could do whatever he was planning to do with those zip ties. But there was cross traffic. A sedan going through on green. I'd get hit, or I'd stop anyway, and then I'd be in a crashed car in the middle of an intersection instead of 30 feet from that gas station door. I stopped. The light was red. My hands went to the door lock manually. I clicked it off, and my fingers found the door handle, and I made myself wait 2 seconds to make sure I had it right. Then I ripped the door open and ran. I heard him say something. "Get back!" And then I was on the wet asphalt, and I was running, and I was screaming before I even reached the gas station door. I don't remember deciding to scream. It just came out. The attendant, older guy, 60s maybe, reading glasses pushed up on his forehead, looked up and saw me coming, and his face changed. He moved faster than I expected. He had the door unlocked before I hit it, and he was pulling me inside, and then the lock clicked behind me. "Call 911, I said. "Please call 911 right now." He was already on the phone. I looked back through the glass. My car was still at the light, which had turned green. The passenger door was still open, swinging slightly. I could see the interior light on. Then the door closed from inside and my car pulled forward. He stopped at the edge of the gas station lot. He sat there for a moment. I could see him looking toward the station. Then my car drove away. The police came in 8 minutes. 2 officers, then a detective about 20 minutes after that. I gave them everything. The name on the account, the profile description, the address I'd picked him up from, everything he'd said. My hands didn't stop shaking for the first hour. The attendant, his name was Ray. He brought me a cup of water without being asked, stayed next to me the whole time, and told the officers I'd come in screaming, that there had been a car sitting in his lot for a minute after I ran in. The detective checked the app while I watched. The ride was still showing as in progress. Marcus T's profile, when she searched it, was gone. Account deleted. The payment method attached was a prepaid card, already expired or never valid. She didn't give me the exact details, but I understood. It was designed to be untraceable. The GPS, which she could pull through the app's backend because I was the registered driver, showed my car heading east, toward the warehouse district I'd been routed toward. They found my car at 2:47 a.m., 3 hours later, on a dead-end street next to a building that had been vacant for 2 years. Zip ties on the floor of the back seat. 3 of them, not the ones I'd seen in his hand. He must have had more. My phone, which had been in the cup holder, had been destroyed, screen smashed, SIM removed. The detective said it looked like he'd done it before getting out of the car. Before getting out means he drove there on purpose. He went to that building with my car and spent some amount of time in it and then left. I don't let myself think too hard about what that building was for. Detective's name was Ray's. She called me 2 days later and told me they'd had 2 similar reports in the past 6 months. Both rideshare drivers, different companies. Both said the passenger knew personal information that shouldn't have been available. Both said the account had been created same day with a fake identity. One of those drivers disappeared 4 months ago. She said it carefully, professionally. Missing persons report filed. No body found. No confirmed connection to these cases, but the timing, the profile, the pattern. "We're taking this seriously," she said. I asked if they had any suspects. She said they were pursuing leads. I still wonder what would have happened if Ray hadn't been at that station. If it had been a closed store, a dark parking lot, another 100 feet of empty road. Uber sent me an email 4 days after the incident. "We take the safety of our drivers seriously and are committed to providing a secure platform," followed by links to their safety features. Nothing about my destroyed phone, nothing about compensation. Nothing that indicated a human being had read my report rather than a keyword sorting algorithm. I quit the same night they found my car. It's been 2 weeks. I'm staying with a friend on the other side of the city. New phone, new number, security cameras my friend helped me install because I couldn't stop thinking about someone standing outside watching windows. I filed a restraining order against Marcus T. The clerk explained, gently, that without a real identity attached to that name, the legal utility was limited. I filed it anyway. I needed to do something with my hands. I look over my shoulder now, constantly. Dark sedans make my heart rate spike. Anytime someone walks behind me at the same pace I'm walking, I cross the street. Last week, someone called a wrong number, and when I picked up and heard silence before they hung up, I spent the next hour sitting on my friend's couch with the lights on. I know how he found me, roughly. The app collects driver information. There have been data concerns raised about rideshare platforms before, third-party access, API vulnerabilities, information that shouldn't be public-facing but sometimes is. He found my name, found my car registration, and the rest is what surveillance looks like when someone has time and patience and you're a creature of routine. I drove the same roads 800 times. I never changed my schedule. I never thought anyone was watching. I was so stupid. That's the thing that keeps me up at night more than the fear. How long was he watching before he acted? Weeks at minimum. The things he knew, my mother's name, my address, the blue door, that's not one night of research. That's accumulated. And there's another driver out there who got into that car and didn't run. I think about her sometimes. Or him. I don't know their name. Ray's wouldn't tell me. I know they drove for a different company, and I know they're gone, and I know that the building at the end of that road exists and has been vacant for 2 years, and I don't think about the rest of it. I got lucky. So lucky. A red light in the right place, a gas station with the lights on, an older man who moved fast when it mattered. I still don't know what he was planning to do. But I know I was supposed to be alone with him in a place where no one could help me. I got lucky. The other driver didn't.